What if one night you boarded the last bus home and the passengers sitting beside you were never meant to arrive alive? Today we dive into one of China's most terrifying urban legends, a story so disturbing, so deeply unexplained, that even the authorities insist it never happened. This is the story of Beijing's bus number 375. Welcome back to Into the Depths of Mystery. Today's journey takes us into the dead of winter, onto a nearly empty road, and aboard a bus that vanished without a trace. So, as I always say, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and take a deep breath, because we're about to take a deep dive into the mystery of bus number 375. November 14th, 1995. Beijing. Just past midnight, winter had already wrapped the city in its grip. The air was sharp, the roads were empty, and the wind cut through clothing like blades. At the Yuanminjuan, also known as the Old Summer Palace terminus, bus number 375 prepared for its final trip of the night. Its destination is Xiangshan, also called Fragrant Hills, a quiet, mountainous area far from the city center. On board were only two people, a middle-aged driver who is tired from a full day behind the wheel, and a young female ticket inspector. It was the last run, the kind of shift drivers just want to finish and forget. At the south gate stop near the Old Summer Palace, 4 passengers boarded the bus, a young couple who sat together in the double seats behind the driver, an elderly woman, clearly in her 70s, and a young man traveling alone. The old woman and the young man sat in the single seats near the door, one behind the other. No one spoke. Outside, the streets were completely deserted. No pedestrians, no cars, just the low hum of the engine and the howl of the wind. The bus rolled onward into the darkness. A few stops later, the driver suddenly slammed his hand against the wheel. "What the hell is going on tonight?" he muttered angrily. "There are never passengers this late." Then his voice dropped. "And why are those people standing in the middle of the road?" Up ahead, roughly a quarter-mile away, 2 dark figures stood motionless, not at a bus stop, but directly in the roadway. Technically, the driver didn't have to stop, but it was freezing, and this was the last bus of the night. The ticket inspector leaned forward gently and said, "Let them on. If we don't stop, they'll be stranded out here." Reluctantly, the driver slowed the bus. The doors opened. As the headlights illuminated the figures, everyone inside the bus realized something was wrong. There weren't 2 people. There were 3. 2 of them stood on either side of a third man, holding him upright by his shoulders. All 3 were dressed in traditional Qing dynasty robes. It is a long, flowing garments that belonged to a China that was long gone. Their faces were unnaturally pale, expressionless and blank. The man in the middle looked worse. His hair was disheveled. His head hung low. He couldn't stand on his own. Without saying a word, they stepped onto the bus and walked straight to the back row and sat down. Silently, fear spread instantly among others in the bus. The young couple exchanged nervous glances. The young man near the door felt his stomach tighten, and the old woman, she couldn't stop staring, sensing the tension inside the bus. The ticket inspector forced a laugh. "Oh, don't worry," she said. "There's filming all around Beijing these days. They're probably actors who just finished a shoot. The man in the middle must have had too much to drink." Her explanation made sense. This was Beijing, after all. Slowly, the passengers tried to relax, all except the old woman. She kept turning around, watching the three men in the back, watching closely. The bus continued through the night. No one else boarded. Stop after stop passed in silence. The three men never spoke, never moved or reacted. The old woman noticed something else. They didn't blink, not even once. After several stops, the young couple rang the bell and got off. The doors closed behind them. Now, only 7 people remained on the bus. The driver, the ticket inspector, the young man, the old woman, and the 3 figures in the back. The atmosphere grew heavier and colder, even inside the heated bus. Suddenly, the old woman stood up and shouted, "You stole my wallet." She pointed directly at the young man in front of her. The entire bus froze. "What? I didn't touch you," he exclaimed. "You did. My wallet is gone." "You took it when you boarded," she screamed. The young man was furious and embarrassed. "That's ridiculous. If you think I took it, then search me," he said angrily. The old woman ignored him and turned to the driver. "There's a police station at the next stop. Let us get off there and settle this," she said. The young man clenched his fists and said, "I have nothing to hide. Let's go to the police station." The driver pulled over at the next stop. The doors opened. The old woman grabbed the young man and dragged him off the bus. The doors closed, and bus 375 disappeared into the night. As the taillights vanished, the old woman exhaled deeply and said, "Finally." The young man turned on her angrily and asked, "So where's the police station? You embarrassed me for nothing." Instead of answering immediately, the old woman simply smiled. There was no police station. What she told him next made his anger fade into shock. She explained that forcing him off the bus wasn't about a stolen wallet. It was about saving his life. At first, he didn't understand. He thought she was joking, but her expression never changed. She told him that from the moment the 3 men boarded the bus, something felt wrong, while everyone else tried to ignore it. She kept watching them. Then, as the cold wind rushed through the bus, their long robes lifted slightly. That was when she saw it. There were no feet beneath them. The young man felt his blood run cold. They went to the police to report what they had witnessed, but just as expected, no one took their story seriously. Ghosts, a haunted bus. The officers dismissed it all as nonsense and sent them home. But the next morning, everything changed. The bus depot called the police and informed the bus 375 never returned. The driver never came home. Neither did the ticket inspector. The bus hadn't crashed. It had simply vanished. The officers remembered the report from the night before. The old woman, the young man, the ghost bus. Later, a massive search began. But there was nothing. No wreckage, no witnesses, no clues. 2 days later, bus 375 was found, not near its route, not near Xiangshan, but over 100 kilometers away, inside the Mian Reservoir. Inside the bus were 3 bodies. the driver, the female ticket inspector, and an unidentified man. All 3 bodies were severely decomposed, far beyond what should have been possible after only 2 days in freezing temperatures. When autopsies were conducted, the results were even more disturbing. The decay hadn't been caused by chemicals. There were no signs of violence or foul play. According to the reports, the decomposition had occurred naturally, and then the fuel tank was opened. It wasn't filled with fuel, it was filled with blood. How did the bus travel more than 100 kilometers without enough fuel to make the journey? Why didn't a single security camera capture the bus along the route? Who was the unidentified body found inside? And what truly happened after the old woman and the young man stepped off that bus? In the aftermath, officials denied everything. They claimed bus 375 never existed at all, but it was already too late. The story spread through late-night radio shows, then television programs, then early internet forums, and once it was out there, it could never be taken back. Some say it's nothing more than a ghost story or an urban legend meant to scare people after dark. Others believe it points to something deeper, ancient China, haunting a rapidly modernizing world, the past refusing to stay buried. And once you hear this story, every late-night bus ride feels different. So tell me, if you had been on that bus, would you have noticed the warning signs? Would you have realized the danger in time? Or would you still be riding, watching the lights pass by, moving farther and farther into the darkness? If this story stayed with you, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Into the Depths of Mystery, because some journeys don't end at the final stop. Some keep going long after the lights go out, and once you're on board, there may be no way back.